Bubble tea is the hottest food and beverage category of the modern age and has been growing nonstop across the West since the early 2010s. Unlike past fads like frozen yogurt and cupcakes, bubble tea has established its staying power as both a product and business. Bubble tea was introduced to the US in the 90s by chains like Quickly and Tapioca Express, but they suffered pioneering costs as their growth was restricted to the predominantly Asian communities of San Gabriel, Sunset, and Flushing. Boba in this era was a cheap $1 to $2 drink made from powdered mixes and non-dairy creamer. Because flavors were identical from chain to chain, these first movers relied on low prices and cross-sell to survive. Bubble tea was an entry-level, low-margin turnkey retail business, and the only way anyone really made money back then was through franchising. While things remained primitive in the West, the industry progressed in the East. Beverages universally have been a low-barrier industry. Real estate requirements are low, product costs are mostly water and prepackaged commodities, and labor is simple as anyone can boil water and pour milk. These factors make beverage-based businesses easy to scale. Starbucks, Dunkin, and Jamba Juice had shown through the 90s how to snowball momentum from a single store into a sprawling franchise empire. New brands like Gong and Happy Lemon emerged across Asia, looking to replicate that success in boba. They brewed teas, used real milk, and expanded toppings to make higher quality distinct drinks and diverse menus. This helped broaden appeal, push higher prices, and drive greater consumption. By the 2010s, competition had intensified across China and Taiwan, with each new entrant adding their own spin. Some turned bubble tea into extravagant desserts with cheese foam, cream, candies, and nuts. And others followed the path of third-wave coffee, elevating the drink with fresh fruit, photogenic layers, natural sweeteners, organic milks, and store ambiance. These winning concepts and trends started in Asia and then slowly trickled to the US. While Western companies conventionally look east, bubble tea is the rare industry where it's east going west. China and Taiwan have become saturated with brands and their profits have slowed. But as legacy coffee giants have stagnated, as more Asians have immigrated to America, and Asian American culture has grown, bubble tea in the US has become a gold rush. Americans possess the highest disposable income in the world, have demonstrated their interest in boba, and yet have the lowest familiarity with the product. Asian brands have invested millions of dollars into US franchising and even rewritten their own history for better branding and marketing. Independents have created their own concepts which compete on product and originality. What was once a low-margin niche business in the 90s is now a high-margin, high-cash-flow business that has caught the eye of Starbucks and even fast food chains. As the birthplace of boba in the US and home to the largest population of Asian Americans in the country, there are more bubble tea shops in LA than anywhere else. Los Angeles represents the forefront as consumption and standards are years ahead compared to any other city in the West. Innovation is a prerequisite to survival. While Asian chains have attempted to dominate Southern California, their franchises never seem to last under the never-ending onslaught of new entrants. In this modern MBA exclusive, we're going on the ground to understand the hidden economics of bubble tea and what it takes to win in this world from the lens of 3 different shops. Los Angeles is massive and every neighborhood is its own market. While retail businesses are conventionally spread out in American urban design, this stretch of land in West LA is an anomaly. Sandwiched between UCLA and Santa Monica, these 3 blocks are prime real estate with unmatched foot traffic and clientele. Some of the city's most popular food and beverage concepts are all clustered here on Sawtelle. It takes 6 minutes to walk from one end to the other, and along the way, customers get to choose from 40 restaurants, 3 cafes, 8 patisseries, 2 bars, and 5 bubble tea shops. Competition here is literally one step away. The density makes business here a true zero-sum game in that any customer that gets bubble tea at one of the 5 boba shops results in a direct loss of income for the other 4. With such material opportunity cost, how do you differentiate and carve out market share on Sawtelle? This is a challenge that Hannah has faced since opening 7 Miles Tea Lab. She entered the industry 5 years ago as a franchisee for one of Taiwan's hottest chains. Coming from China, she knew the business potential for boba, but was content as a newbie tapping into the knowledge and resources of an established brand. But that relationship turned frosty as she lacked the autonomy as a franchisee and the brand lacked flexibility as a franchisor. When things slowed, Hannah came up with 3 new drinks to reignite sales, but it took many months of back and forth with HQ to get approval. What Hannah saw as necessary adaptation and local insight, her franchisor saw as meddling. They would rather keep scaling, even if that meant fitting square pegs into round holes, than to slow down. Ironically, Hannah's 3 drinks became the chain's bestsellers, and this gave her the belief that she could create and capture more value going her own way. She used her developed expertise and connections to try an MVP in a smaller market. The first 7 miles opened up in Artesia and served as a 2-year-long proving ground before moving on to Sawtelle. And having gone from franchise to independent, Hannah knew firsthand what she could compete on.
The advantage of having a very small brand, of having it born in LA, is the flexibility of knowing your customer and design the right product for the customer you're serving for. This brand is not born in Asia. We're trying to study the people here. It's really scary because when you're coming from a big brand, you definitely have the brand name. But what people don't know is they always have more negotiating power. When they're coming to their inventories, they probably have the first access to the best inventories. Whereas for us, we have to spend time researching and getting it to our hands. That's from the ingredients perspective. Coming from a big brand, if you are one of the franchisees, then you are enjoying the marketing force behind that brand, and you're enjoying a lot of people who are working on logistics, not just the shops. Some of the really bigger brands or some of the mega players probably have the technology to have the cup scanned and have all the ingredients going into their cups. Whereas we have to train our people, memorize the recipe, and it takes a lot of training. Also takes a lot of mistakes for them to make a right drinks. The efforts that you're trying to put in your employees are very, very different. They probably can focus on service from their day one. We have to focus on making the drink right from day one. If an employee is good at making drinks and not good at service, we cannot fire him because we need him to make the right drink. Calvin, enjoy. For some brands, you can hire the people that are really, really friendly to customers. You can hire people with that personality. You don't have to train the people in the back with as much efforts as we are putting in. So we're definitely very scared. And also we do know that it comes a long way. Like the impact of that probably won't show on day one. It's probably going to show in 2 years, So how do we climb down the mountain?
To Hannah, market saturation in LA is only a matter of time. There's so many players in her home country that competing on brand is futile. In China, every brand has a mascot, every cup is decorated, and no one is memorable. In her own Chinese words, Hannah isn't trying to da ping pai. She's not looking to establish 7 Miles as a brand. Her shops by design lack positioning, and she admits it's difficult to even explain 7 Miles as a concept since they serve everything. Fruit teas, dessert drinks, classic milk tea, and trendy Asian flavors all under the broad umbrella of bubble tea.
We are not trying to label ourselves with fresh fruits, organic products, developing a space where people can socialize. We're trying to be a boba tea shop people can rely on. They think our products are consistent, and we're trying to make it a brand that's not offering the best service, but are comfortable for people. If you want to be quick, you can come in and pick it up. If you want to not socialize, you can order on kiosk. If you prefer the social, we give it to you. So we're trying to be a brand that's your neighborhood brand.
For Hannah, the only strategy worth pursuing is product. 5 years ago, ingredient quality and menu creativity was enough to differentiate. Her theory is that people in LA nowadays know boba so well that they already have preconceived desires and expectations when they walk in. The challenge is not just offering a drink that will exceed those expectations, it's also having a menu that will guide customers to the right choice, even if they're not able to express what it is that they really want.
If we were to go open a new boba tea shop here, you think you're comparing with boba shops that already existed on the street. And you think that if I offer the same product, are you going to gain the same amount of customer? The answer is no, because if you're offering the same product at the same price point, they'll tend to go to the shops that they already know. In order for you to stand out in that competition is that you have to offer better product at better price point. And they're not just going to tell right away. It's very subjective for a business owner. Like if I taste it one by one, I have 2 in my hand, I can taste the difference. But if you were asking them to taste it today and taste it tomorrow, they might not notice it. So it takes a lot for a customer to actually change what they're used to. It's not just one visit. There's a Chinese term, it's called 爽点, right? 爽点, it's a point where they come in with a certain need and you fill up that need. So I think when you are offering products, you're actually offering service. We're not trying to offer the best peach fruit tea. We're trying to see what does the customer actually want when they want a fruit tea. Maybe they're trying to quench the thirst. Maybe they're trying to have a lot of flavors in this cup. Maybe they're trying to find something creamy. Maybe they're just trying to have a lot of ingredients. Like, I want boba, I want everything in this cup. I want a lot of things to chew on. I think for boba tea, the fun thing about this business is it's so diversified and it's so big that there can be a lot of things happening in that one cup of tea. We're not trying to have a very extensive menu where he has to make very, very complicated decisions. We're trying to have very simplified menu, so it makes us a more reliable shop.
Yet this product focus is a privilege in itself. With so much foot traffic right outside the door, the challenge for 7 Miles is conversion, not awareness. A shop in a weaker location could not afford such a reductive lens on strategy. Yet while drinks are the public-facing competitive advantage of any bubble tea shop, the real moat is in the supply chain.
70% of the bubble tea shops that are currently existing in this market are trying to buy local. They are trying to use whatever source are available to them in the most convenient way, in the smallest business unit that you can have. However, if you're trying to use the same ingredients all the time, the same ingredients as the rest of the 6 bubble tea shops on your street, how do you create a single cup of products that's surprising to customers? If you're using the same old teas, same old flavors, how do you have enough creativity to make sure your customer are excited for this cup? How can you differ from anyone else? If you are using the same ingredients, then it only relies on your creativity, and that's very unreliable. You probably can have one cup of tea that's successful because of your creativity, but you can't have a whole line of products that's more tasty or that's just better taste than other people, right? If you're using the same ingredients, it's very hard for you to compete.
Because the ingredients are what make up the drinks, and the drinks in turn are what make or break the business, what exactly you use and who you get them from are closely guarded secrets for every owner in this world. For this reason, we weren't allowed to film any supplies in their kitchen, as that would be giving away her competitive advantage. Hannah's bubbly personality is a fascinating contrast with her pragmatic character. She views the industry with such stoicism that she openly shares these hard truths with uncanny nonchalance. Business is rational, money is the only objective, chains and independents all have their right to belong, and there's no value in morality.
If you're in boba tea business, you more or less have to face the decision of whether I should franchise or not. There is a lot of advantage of franchise, especially if you're a new beginner. However, you need to see that the franchise market is very, very different from the retail market. They are trying to make money out of volume, out of scale. They are able to game up as they build up the volume and scale. So you need to see behind their intention to be able to figure out whether sometimes you're sharing the same piece of pie. There are certain conflicts that are not going to be resolved as a franchisee and franchisor. And you need to face them and you need to acknowledge them. There's no right or wrong. It's part of the game. As you have a lot of experience with the industry, you're going to see the big picture of it at some point. And it's very helpful to see the big picture, to know that what you're competing with, especially for a small brand like 7 Miles. In the franchise business, usually you're asked to pay a royalty. You make an initial payment to the brand, and those are the money that's clear to you. However, when you are a franchisee, you are able to tell a lot of the cost, your inventories, does go to the brand. And that's very, very normal. It makes 100% sense that they're taking that money. However, what if your inventory cost is triple the market cost? What if your shipping cost is triple the market cost? What if your profit is completely eaten up by that? You need to understand that your initial investment is part of it, your royalty is part of it, your ingredients, your inventory is part of it. Also, at the same time, they're trying to build up their skills. So they're trying to open as many as they can open, whereas you are trying to be the only one in your area, right? So there are a lot of aspects that goes behind the franchising, Whereas the smaller brand, you don't need to face that, but on the other hand, you face the power of how they're going to nail you with their brand, right? How they're going to nail you with their R&D, how they're going to nail you with their marketing, with all the forces that they have behind them. So it's not an easy game for anyone. I'm trying to say that people are in different games. People are in here for different profit. And you need to understand that, and you need to have that perspective, whatever business decision that you're going for.
7 Miles Tea Lab on Sawtelle grosses on average $90,000 a month for an annual revenue of $1.08 million. Meanwhile, their store in Artesia grosses half of that, $45,000 a month for an annual revenue of $540,000. Location is the only difference between the two stores and demonstrates just how important that variable is in retail. As a beverage-only business, the average order size sits at just $9. Yet store-level operating margins sit at 30%, some of the highest ever covered on modern MBA in retail. Yet the density of competition on Sawtelle and the non-brand focus means that Hannah isn't able to push pricing. 7 Miles is positioned in the middle of the market, and she's sensitive about raising prices in what is ultimately a volume business. Despite the eye-popping numbers, Hannah is a realist. In her mind, disruption, just like saturation, is inevitable. She can't predict how long 7 Miles will last, but despite the fragility, she's just opened store number 3 in Chino. In the world of bubble tea, scale is mandatory. The more shops you open, the more negotiating power you get with suppliers, which not only lower costs and increase profits, but also widens ingredient possibilities. Your initial supply chain and drinks are how you penetrate the market, but scale is how you strengthen your business. This is why Hannah, even as an independent, is focused on expanding to as many locations as possible while she has the momentum, just like the Asian brands and the legacy coffee and smoothie chains that came decades before bubble tea.
When we're looking at industry, there's a period where the industry starts and then it's growing until it reaches maturity, and then it starts to decline. I feel like the LA boba tea market, it's on the way reaching the maturity. We see a lot of consolidation, like we see a lot of brands that are not doing so well, they will die because bigger brands are merging, and the market itself is merging into those few survivors, and then it's going to reach the maturity of it. There used to be a period where a boba tea shop pops up, people will come. We're no longer in that era, and I feel like whoever is going to come into this business needs to know that. People are no longer excited about it as it used to be. You need to be almost very mature in this business in order to survive. It is a business with volume, unfortunately. So I always say that for beginners coming in, you probably need 3 stores to have your own distribution channel, to have ingredients that are more superior than the local market. You probably need 10 shops to have the top-notch products. You probably need 15 to have certain technologies. So it's no longer a market for beginners. It's a market for those who are already established. It's hitting the maturity. And I only say that for California. I don't say that for a lot of other states. Some of them, I think you still have opportunities to make people exciting for the brand, and then you have time to figure it out. But for California, unfortunately, I don't think it's that market anymore. There's currently 6 or 7 boba tea shops on the street that we're on, and we are currently performing relatively well. The market is not going to outbeat the growth of the number of boba tea shops. So the people who are drinking it is not going to outbeat the growth of how many boba tea shops there are going to be. So we are at the end of the day trying to split the same pie. We feel like if we are bringing better products, then we're taking some customer over, and there will be shops that are going to not survive anymore, unfortunately, and they are going to be replaced by the ones who are doing better than them. It's a business of skill. You have to have a certain volume for it to grow, to find better ingredients, to build your own distribution channel, for you to be able to build a better team. So it comes down to a lot of perspective, but it is a business that you have to reinvest in. Maybe on opening new shops, maybe on distribution channels, maybe on your warehousing, maybe on, I don't know, maybe on promoting a new manager. But it is not like we keep the profit of this month. We haven't kept a penny from the first day. It has all been moving to, upgrade your game. Unfortunately, that's how this business is. You really have to keep upgrading your game, otherwise you won't survive in the competitions.
Minutes away is Odd One Out, one of Hannah's 4 direct competitors on Sawtelle. They're on the corner, and while they're within the same 3 blocks as 7 Miles, they enjoy none of the foot traffic that 7 Miles gets on the main street. Despite their inferior location, Odd One Out is one of LA's most expensive bubble tea shops. And like Hannah, Ron and Pat are new players in this industry. They only started 3 years ago, but had extensive prior experience in food and beverage. Back in 2012, Ron had founded Foodpanda in Taiwan, which before Uber's billion-dollar acquisition this year was the leading food delivery app on the island. Pat, on the other hand, cut his teeth helping CPK and Domino's grow their pizza empires across APAC. The two crossed paths during a business meeting and kept in touch over the years. And the longer each of them worked in Asia, the harder it was to not see the inevitable rise of bubble tea. Yet Ron and Pat were neither boba enthusiasts or consumers.
We kind of viewed it, in college you start drinking beer, right? And then once you grow up a little older, you start drinking wine. And then as you get more sophisticated, you start drinking cocktails and eventually just to straight up spirits. There's like an evolution of taste as you grow in age.
We did see that bubble tea was something that was growing globally. We saw that there was a big trend going on in China with some brands that were really taking over and becoming kind of like the next Starbucks. We saw that when we came to the US, there were kind of like this resurgence. We thought that we can do something a little different because everything that we did see was pretty much a cookie cutter of one brand versus the next. The drinks were the same, the format was the same. While right now bubble tea is mainly seen as a product, but if you look into coffee space, there's brands that have done really well, such as Starbucks.
Most of the product was quite singular. When we did our research in Taiwan, in Asia, in the United States, it's the same thing from the 80s. And we just didn't really see much elevation of ingredients. It's still the same suppliers, all the suppliers were all the same.
While Hannah came at it top down with outcome first, Ron and Pat approached product from the bottoms up.
We really do focus on the quality of the tea, and tea is very similar to like the wine world or whiskey world, where you can get a $5 bottle of wine at CVS, or you can go to a wine retailer and get something for $1,000 or $10,000. Maybe not everybody can taste the difference, but there definitely is a difference, and we believe tea falls in the same category where there's just a huge variety. And every single bubble tea store will tell you they use premium teas. There's nobody who's going to say they don't. I don't think it's true because most bubble teas work with just the same generic distributors or suppliers that present to you a menu of all these teas, and most of these teas are from very low cost tea countries such as maybe Vietnam, and they grind it down to like dust, which is the cheapest kind, and then they add tons of sugar or milk, whatever, condensers to kind of mask the flavors. So how we do things very differently is, number one, we worked with a tea master in Taiwan to just introduce us to tea. So one of the youngest tea masters who really got us to really open our eyes to see, okay, teas can come in many different forms, different qualities. And we started to basically source our favorite teas from all these different small batch farmers in Taiwan, and even custom roasting our teas based to the specifications that we like.
In the tea world, there are these like collectives, right? And what they do is they source tea from this region and they just collect and they label it all under one thing. They might be collecting it all in Taiwan and they label it Taiwanese tea. It's really interesting when you work with the larger distributors. They have everything, right? They have the sugar, they have the boba, they have the cups. It's like a one-stop shop. There's pros and cons of that. Obviously, it's easier to operate, but on the downside, everyone has then the same kind of tea. When you buy oolong tea, you just get one type. But oolong teas are quite unique. There's so many different styles that we thought would be really interesting to introduce to our customers.
Their North Star was to revamp bubble tea into something sophisticated, where the unrivaled ingredient quality, flavor originality, and unique preparation would lead to an unassailable moat in product and brand. But to achieve this, Ron and Pat needed to learn to create drinks, build their own supply chain, and acquire knowledge at a depth that few could ever replicate. And there was no better place to do this than Taiwan.
Everything we needed to know about bubble tea was born in Taiwan and still thriving in Taiwan. So it was an easy decision to set up shop in Taiwan. Also, labor costs in Taiwan is much lower as well, so we can get all this wealth of knowledge for a lower price than if we were to get set up here in the US from the get-go. It was also a proof of concept of our first store. We were able to get an amazing team with lots of industry experience, tea masters to our mixologists to our R&D team to people who do marketing in this space.
A lot of successful brands in Taiwan, they have to first be successful in Taiwan. They first have to compete in the Taiwanese market. And if they catch enough attention from franchisees, maybe in America, then they could sell their franchise to any franchisee that wants to open shop in America. So we kind of like did it the opposite way, right? We built the MVP for Taiwan, but we've always had a focus of trying to do things in the United States.
Since me and Pat got together, decided to do this, to the day we launched our store in Taiwan, it took 564 days. And it's a long time to prepare for a bubble tea store to launch, where most people, at least in Taiwan, and I would suspect here in the US, would maybe spend 3 months.
They initially hired 15 mixologists, bartenders who had the hard skills, developed palates, and mastery over sugars and liquids, and gave them complete freedom to develop non-alcoholic boba recipes. The winning 10 recipes incorporated unorthodox ingredients like coffee bean husk, fermented vinegar, and tea steeped in coconut water. But as impressive as these drinks were, they were unscalable. Ron and Pat then brought on boba experts to streamline and scale these recipes. It was a novel marriage of two worlds: the creativity, sophistication, and originality of mixology applied to the ordinary bubble tea, and then backed by the latest innovations and mature business processes from the industry. But even after all this R&D, it was not a straight shot to success. Achieving product market fit is as much luck as it is merit, and the best business is often the simplest one.
When we wanted to market our brand, because mixology is in our core, we're telling customers that mixologists did create our drinks. But that was very confusing to them because they didn't know if we were a bar. What we realized is that people never really have an occasion or behavior to have mocktails. The big turning point was when we realized our staff, that what they were drinking every single day was actually not the mocktail-like drinks. It was actually our red oolong milk tea with the cream foam on top. And we decided to sell that drink as the employee's favorite. That's what we named it. And there was this competition in Taiwan that happens, a milk tea festival competition. We submitted that drink to that competition and won first place in our category. And we started to really heavily advertise that in front of our store. So when people walked by our store, we had this big sign that said, "We are the champions of the Taiwan Milk Tea Festival." And that's how people started to come in, and we drove a lot of traffic.
Yeah, there's this quote that I love to say, but everything has already been done before. You just need to make it a little bit better. What we were originally doing, our starting point was doing something completely not even existent. And that was very difficult. And all we had to do was make our basic product better. And we were actually using the best milk. We were handcrafting all of our sugars, and our tea leaves were all independent sourced, really unique tea flavors. And that in itself as the component was already better than what was available in Taiwan.
Most people come for our milk tea because it's something that they're familiar with. So it's just like in the pizza world. Let's say if you take Domino's as an example, or Pizza Hut, they'll always introduce these crazy flavors, these weekly or monthly flavors. But at the end of the day, 80% of the sales are still going to come with the pepperoni or the cheese pizza. People will come in for our milk tea. Today, it's at least probably 70% of our sales.
Even though very few people actually know about the Milk Tea Festival or how significant this competition really is in the industry, this employee creation turned contest winner has become Odd One Out's calling card. It's an official label of credibility, an overseas rubber stamp of authenticity, and a badge of honor that no American competitor would ever possess. Thus, while 7 Miles defines quality through emotional outcomes, Odd One Out defines quality through more objective terms.
Most bubble tea, what they do is large batches of brews. They steep it in a large vat with hot water, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it may take, and they just filter it out and put it in a vat. But what happens to that tea over time is the flavor changes because of temperature and time. And that also limits them with how many teas they can offer. Most bubble teas, they have 4 or 5 at most. Black tea, green tea, 1 oolong, and maybe 1 something else. And we actually carry 7, 8, 9 different teas. And we have to portion every single tea differently. We have to grind it also differently depending on the type of tea. If it's a rolled tea or if it's a Baozong curl tea.
But while 7 Miles' MVP in Artesia carried over to Sawtelle, Odd One Out's momentum in Taiwan did not translate overseas.
In Taiwan, our shop for the first few months didn't perform so well, but me and Pat still made that decision to go to the US and try it out, because just because something doesn't work in Taiwan does not mean that it doesn't work outside of Taiwan. So a large part of this is about product market fit. Sawtelle over here is quite competitive. There is a lot of people who drink boba on a day-to-day basis. Because Sawtelle is so thriving, it's really hard to get a prime location. The closest one that we can find where our shop is right now is actually on Olympic off of Sawtelle. Not even a 2-minute walk from the main area, but still very hidden. So we basically get no foot traffic. The UCLA students call it the Plaza of Death, simply because not many businesses survive in this plaza that we've selected. Again, we're not in the best location here in Sawtelle. And yes, our prices are expensive versus our competitors. There's no doubt about it. But that's because we put in so much into our product, into our service, into everything that we do.
Odd One Out grosses on average $77,000 a month for an annual revenue of $924,000. Their operating margins sit above 30% given the cheaper rent in an inferior location. While the average drink at 7 Miles costs $5.74, the average drink at Odd One Out is 12% more expensive at $6.47. Their award-winning champion milk tea starts at $8, not including tapioca, and makes up the majority of sales. Higher prices mean greater order sizes, as a customer spends on average $14 in a single transaction at Odd One Out. Like 7 Miles, Ron and Pat are now harnessing their current momentum to scale with store number 2 underway in Santa Monica. Compared to Hannah, Ron and Pat are more upbeat about the future and longevity of their concept.
Right now, at the stage of the business that what we're at, customer experience and product is the most important thing. When it comes in the F&B world especially, people are paying something because they want to enjoy it. As businesses do scale, they kind of lose focus on that. Even if you have the best marketing in the world, the best Instagram in the world, they come in, they don't like it, they're not going to tell their friends about it, they're never going to come back. Our business right now is an 80% returning customer business, simply because we believe that we have the best product in the area, possibly in America, maybe in the world, and we're going to continue on that and hopefully be able to scale like those other big businesses without losing that product focus of our brand.
Most neighborhoods in LA are nowhere close to these levels of traffic, clientele, and consumption of Sawtelle. 7 Miles and Odd One Out, by extension, are outliers, as they represent the top 1% in volume and earnings. Both shops have been open for barely a year on these 3 blocks and are already rolling out location number 2 or location number 3. Yet the bubble tea business looks very different when inserted into an ordinary, non-destination neighborhood. "30 minutes away in Echo Park is Hey Hey, a boba shop that's ingrained itself into this neighborhood for the past 6 years. While 7 Miles and Odd One Out wield product and social media to keep the sizzle going as long as possible, Hey Hey plays a different game in a slower, more residential market. While atmosphere is an afterthought for most boba shops, Chris has made it a competitive advantage that's just as compelling as product.
I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, so I was there like in middle school when Taiwanese like bubble milk tea just hit the scene, and it was just purely like this new trend, kind of like froyo, and you would just have black tea and boba. And then over the last decade, as it was kind of in parallel with specialty coffee shops, you really started to see some really cool different recipes and layering of smoothies or the colorfulness of fruit teas, and just like packaging it in almost like a dessert beverage, which was kind of siloed in predominant Asian markets. It further increased competition. One, less barrier of entry because the startup cost isn't that high. It's like who can make something that's more and more outlandish in terms of the drink experience. I think the market drives a lot of boba or bubble tea shops as something that's cheapened or like fast food, buy one get one free. And I wanted to provide the alternate experience where you get really high quality stuff by having things made in-house. I think some of that was lost or absent from the tea house culture. And just because it's more service towards maybe like the kid or more focus on volume, and maybe owners getting into it just purely from a profit perspective.
Chris sees Hey Hey as a contemporary tea house where people can relax and just so happens to serve bubble tea. While it's not clear if the LA market is mature enough to understand the nuances between a tea house and a boba shop, this strategy has given Hey Hey a longevity that few boba shops have ever achieved. Drinks are what pull customers in, boba is the main draw on the menu, yet the ambiance is what gets them coming back. In Chris's mind, product is the most common moat, but it's also a fleeting advantage. On the other hand, physical space and community are permanent assets that outlast hype and taste. Hey Hey is not just for lounging. On certain days, they'll host game nights, food pop-ups, cookie decorating parties, live music, and knitting workshops that are open to all. Echo Park will never match Sawtelle in traffic, but within the confines of this neighborhood, Hey Hey is a social destination as much as a regular drink institution for locals and transplants alike. While 7 Miles and Odd One Out are like most boba shops in that they open late and close late, Hey Hey opens early and closes early every day by 3 hours so customers can stop in for coffee in the morning and then boba after work.
I felt that the cafe culture was becoming more of like a remote workspace and library type of setting. And so I wanted to create a different type of gathering space that you can meet people through not just a common table, but like through installations. We always had the intention of having a larger space so that we can activate it through a lot of free programming, from pop-ups to workshops, listening parties, food pop-ups, and then from a space perspective to create lounge seating, more like campfire seating, so you're lower to the floor and it's just more natural to engage other people. And through these experiences and installations built around the space, as organic ways to bump into someone or have a way to ice break, versus sitting next to someone and hoping someone drops a pencil and you like bump into them like a movie or something like that. A lot of times you go into a place and you just want to just feel seen. So that's what we are trying to inject back into community. Thank you. When you come in, you're acknowledged and you feel at home. And one of our best markers is if you don't have any plans on a Friday, and it's not because you don't have any friends, you just don't have anybody that called you or set up plans, you can come here and you'll feel right at home. Either you are recognized or our open bar setup and seating, it's just easy to chill by yourself and enjoy all the action that's happening.
As a former consultant, Chris sees the world in abstracts. Demand is sequential, with physical nourishment as the primary need and community as a secondary driver. While 7 Miles leans more into desserts and Odd One Out leans more into tea, Hey Hey leans into coffee. For Chris, it's not an either-or between tea and coffee, and surging beverage chains like Dutch Bros are a source of inspiration for him in both product and business.
It's easiest to compare yourself against a very similar brand. So if I was a boba shop or a tea house, my direct competition would be a boba shop and a tea house. But really, you're competing for mouths, basically. If someone is thirsty, they're gonna go for a place where you can consume a beverage. So I think of it really based off of your mood, like what type of mood you're in based off of your thirst profile. And I think it's easy to think that, okay, boba shops, my direct competition is with them, but I've always had the question of, if you are just serving drinks, why not increase the menu that also you can serve every palate? Thank you. Enjoy. So we devised our menu with one drink for one mood. So to hit the desserty, really fun kind of signature beverages, those are all kind of smoothie or more decadent, aesthetic kind of focused. And then we have a section that's just for people who are really thirsty. Like if you're thirsty, you're looking for something light, something citrusy, fruit-based. And so that's how we created that section. And so from an operational perspective, to have a small number of SKUs, it's more effective and efficient for us, but also allows us to focus and be known for certain types of drinks.
Before opening in 2018, Chris had been stuck behind a desk in corporate America. He had the idea for Hey Hey and knew he could iterate on decor and atmosphere after opening, but there was no way he could get away with improvising product on the fly. But without any experience in bubble tea or retail, he had no idea how to make drinks, develop recipes, operate equipment, manage staff, or run a shop. Chris was in his 30s when he traded in his 6-figure salary and Ivy League colleagues for minimum wage kitchen work and teenage coworkers.
coming from a business background, I wasn't just gonna hire like a chef or some type of subject matter expert. If I'm gonna start a brand, I can't rely on someone to be the subject matter expert. So aside from just enjoying drinks and just being a huge fan of mixology and coffee and tea, can I actually make it? I started doing what everyone would do, just Googling recipes and just testing it at home, sharing it with friends. But I knew I had to take the next step and get some real ground zero knowledge. And so during that time, I tried to moonlight and part-time at, the top tea houses at the time, just try to see like what's the actual numbers, and would I be cool and be humble enough to be able to open and close a store, mop floors, clean bathrooms, like beyond just like saying hi to people and serving drinks. When stuff breaks, would I be able to fix it? These are the types of drinks that I love to make. Do I know how to make the components of it? From brewing teas to cooking boba. I was in consulting for 8 years prior to that, and I don't believe in any experience as lost experience. So I really pulled my strengths and what I was trained to do, which is going into businesses, analyzing them, learning them.
He went to Meat Fresh and learned how to cook taro, jelly, and ube. He went to Half and Half and learned how to prepare tapioca, syrups, and teas. He went to a Japanese patisserie where he flipped crepes and made fillings. And he ended at Phil's Coffee, where he absorbed how they managed teams, handled service, trained baristas, and generated atmosphere. In 18 months, Chris had lifted and shifted the strengths and recipes from all these different businesses to form his own understanding of retail and ingredients, which he then directly applied to create all the drinks and processes that make Hey Hey what it is today. Hey Hey grosses on average $30,000 a month for an annual revenue of $360,000. Top-line comparisons are tricky, as Hey Hey has been around for 6 years in a quieter neighborhood, while 7 Miles and Odd One Out are in their first year in a yuppie destination. All the hype and buzz is on their side as LA's 2 newest independent boba shops. Will customers still regard Odd One Out's champion drinks as highly as they do today in half a decade? How much of 7 Miles' popularity is due to location and novelty? Would either of these shops still be grossing as much 6 years from now as they do today? And what is the greatest form of success? Is it the shop that lasts, or is it the shop that peaks the fastest and highest in the shortest amount of time? Hey Hey's store-level operating margin sits at 20%. Chris spends more on labor, as his staff must be able to make drinks in the open bar and talk to customers. It's a contrast to the predominantly college student population that makes up most of the staff at Odd One Out and 7 Miles. And because he just has one store, it's hard for Chris to lower costs without economies of scale. Yet it's clear that atmosphere is a crucial element of the Hey Hey concept. Chris had attempted a second store at a nearby shopping mall with the same drink menu, but struggled to get things off the ground with the limited space and the grab-and-go mindset of the mall clientele. Hey Hey's drinks are priced the highest of the three, with an average price of $6.70. 60% of the sales are for bubble tea, with the other 40% being the coffee or fruit-based beverages, and customers spend on average $11 per order. Chris controls his product costs by maintaining the leanest possible menu. Hey Hey's menu is made up of 20 drinks, compared to Odd One Out's 29, and 7 Miles' 42.
We're situated where there's a lot of bars, lounges, restaurants, and we seem to be the pre-game spot. So we have a lot of couples that come, sometimes their first dates, they come to Hey Hey first, grab a drink, chill out, and then go to their next destination. Growing up, I would never take a date to go to a boba shop unless, my parents were still like driving me around. And also just last year, we had engagement proposal here because their first date was at Hey Hey. So it was awesome to be a part of that.
Life is a school and everyone pays tuition. In the world of bubble tea, supply chain is everything. The more ingredients you pick, where you get them from, and how you use them is the difference between life or death. 7 Miles, Odd One Out, and Hey Hey demonstrate that there's many ways to pay this tuition. You can be like Hannah, you can tap into an established leader, learn all the ins and outs, and then lift and shift once you're ready to strike out on your own. This path is the fastest, but definitive, and requires capital. Alternatively, you can be like Ron and Pat. You can invest the time that no one else is willing to do to master the fundamentals and to uncover the secrets. This path is the hardest, but if you pull it off, you end up with the deepest understanding, the widest moat, and the greatest payoff. Or you can be like Chris. You can walk in the shadow of those that came before you, piece together your own take by replicating what you see, and then hone an edge by pulling in a different bet. And as the bubble tea industry demonstrates, there is no one right way, and the path you ultimately choose is a decision that is as personal as it is economic.
Okay, I got a hey hey.